On this edition of the Dimp Digital Podcast, Abs is joined by Alex Menzies as they deep dive into all things Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain.
On its own, I think there was a good story there. I just wasn't satisfied with the way it was presented.
I loved it. I don't have a bad thing to say about it at all in terms of the gameplay and the game mechanics themselves.
Sure.
But there was just something that was missing, and there was something that wasn't Metal Gear for me. It felt almost like I was playing a new franchise by Kojima.
All that and much, much more on the Dimp Digital Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Dimp Digital Podcast. We're on episode number 44, and this time you've got myself, Apps, and our Lord and Saviour, Alex Menzies, aka Amen. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Just a quick one, we always seem to do a little update on your names. Has Amen stuck? Because I know there's someone was trying to sneak that in last time. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Has it dropped off?
It's dropped off for everyone else. I don't think it really took hold. I think Amen's is just one bloke at work, really. So
just some rogue trying to...
Yeah, I mean, I always stick with the original. I mean, Ming works for me. Big Dog is acceptable. Or Alex, you know.
Or just, the Christian name's fine.
Yeah.
If Alex is here, then it's obviously to do with Metal Gear Solid. That's the way we kind of do things here at Dimp Digital. We're going to go through Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, sort of a post-mortem, if you will. And we are going to discuss all things related to MGS 5. So there's going to be spoilers throughout. You've been warned, so don't come crying if you get things ruined for you. I mean, we were talking just briefly before we come on, there are so many facets to this game, and I don't think we're going to be able to cover off absolutely everything this has to offer, but it's near impossible. But at a very high level, did MGS 5 live up to your expectations? I mean, we'll drill down to some things in detail in a moment, but just generally, did it meet what you was expecting?
Yeah, I think in terms of the gameplay, yes, it was there. Story and things like that, we'll get into that, but it's a difficult question, if I'm honest. It did, for the majority of the components, it did live up to expectation, but we shall see when we get into the nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah, there's a few little snags and hang-ups that I think no one would say it's the perfect game or the perfect Metal Gear game. It certainly plays as good as it's ever played, but there were just some snags that got up my nose, and I'm sure we'll hit those. And if I miss any of yours, be sure to bring them up.
Yeah.
Let's start with the story then, because I mean, like we said, we're both impressed with the gameplay, and we'll get what might be a negative part of the game out of the way with now. I think kicking on to the story itself, like in a vacuum of just say if it was just Metal Gear Solid 5 A to Z. You know, you've got the language parasite, you've got the development of the English version of that, and then that ties into Quiet's story. I liked all that. I was happy with that happening. I thought it was a good little story. It's something a little bit different, and I really liked Quiet's story arc and how that was roped in. That seemed like the most contained part of it, and I quite enjoyed that. Yeah. And there's obviously knock-on effects on the overall arc of the Metal Gear universe, which we'll touch upon later, but on its own, ignoring the ending, I think there was a good story there. I just wasn't satisfied with the way it was presented.
Yeah, I think so. It was very fragmented, wasn't it? And it didn't seem. It wasn't as linear as what I'd have liked. It kind of just came in dribs and drabs, and you just think, well, where was I last time, and what the fuck was I doing? And I've been off doing side ops, and do you know what I mean? It just for me, it didn't live up to what we've come to know and love from Kojima game. But there you have it. I mean, it's a small element of it, but at the same time, it's something that we were all looking forward to, figuring out where it was going and tying up a load of loose ends. But no, I agree with you in terms of the Parasite side of things. That on its own as a standalone element of that game, because it didn't need to lead on to anything else from that. If they'd have had that as a standalone thing and just said, look, just take it on its own merit, don't try and think about what's gone on or what's going to happen, what's meant to happen, just take it as that. I think it was banging, but it's very, very lacking in some other areas. I thought we were going to get a lot more by the way of cutscenes.
Yeah, it's probably only a handful.
That's very love and hate relationship for MGS fans with that.
It obviously had a lot of the story and a lot of the details of the story was presented via these tapes, these cassette tapes. And I have to admit, I didn't like the cassette tapes. I found it very hard to either sit there and listen to them, because I'm sitting in the helicopter in that kind of command centre and just listening to a tape, and like some of them are 10 minutes long, and I was thinking, what am I doing here? I'm sitting here. I was losing focus, and my mind was wandering. I keep rewinding, and a 10-minute cassette tape took 15 minutes. So I kept pissing around. I thought, I'll tell you what, it's probably been designed for me to run around in the mission area doing other things and listening to it in the background. But then, by doing that, once again, I'm concentrating on what I'm doing, not listening and taking in the information.
Yeah.
I, as much as people give the codec shit because they're like, there's too many of them, they're too long, the codec demanded your attention and kept you engaged. It was like, stop what you're doing. If you want to know the story, you can skip through, it's fine. But if you want to know what's going on, listen to what we've got to say, because this is important.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of, with the tapes, they wanted it to be optional. So for people out there that didn't want to engage with the story, they didn't have to. But for those that did, it was a bit of a flat way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to the tapes when I went through Ground Zeroes or anything like that. But I know there was a lot of information there. There's a lot that I missed on this side of things until when I actually got towards the end of the game, and I thought, well, I'll listen to a few of the tapes and see what's going on there. And I thought, well, fuck, that would have been handy. Earlier on, it would have given me a lot more in terms of the story. But this is what I mean. It's so fragmented because there's so many different ways of getting the information that you actually need to get to build a full picture of what's actually going on. And there's a lot of fucking information as well. It's just so much stuff. There's so much fucking jargon that if you're not on your toes, it's just gonna slip, and you just fucking nightmare, really. Yeah,
it was tricky to keep up with. I mean, we had a few cutscenes, and the ones they did do were done in classic style and were hitting the standard in terms of the cutscenes. Just wasn't a lot of them, and obviously we had Phantom Big Boss, as we'll come on to that soon, who didn't speak a lot either, so he didn't really engage a lot. I don't know if that was part of, they were trying to build his character. Obviously he's not the real big boss, and he was brainwashed into thinking he was. I don't know if that's why he didn't speak as much, or whether they didn't want to write him in. I've got a few other problems with some of the characters that they used, and just how they, like Volgin, for example, the Man on Fire.
Yeah.
I mean, it built him up as he was this unstoppable beast, and you bump into him a few times, and then it looked like he got run over by the Metal Gear. I thought he just vanished.
Yeah, I did as well.
I thought he's all right. We'll find his remains, but he'll be all right.
Yeah.
No, he's dead. That seemed very forced, having Volgin in there. It's almost they wanted a tie back to MGS V for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't really. It felt very half-assed, didn't it?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because I spotted that very early on. I think I played the prologue or whatever, the very first mission in the hospital.
Oh, I love that opening. I don't know if
that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So easy to S rank as well.
Yeah.
But I think I texted you, didn't I? And I said, I think I see where they're going with this.
Yes.
But we were both being cautious as we obviously at different stages in the game, and that we were sort of made a pact, didn't we, as to what information we hand over. But I knew where they were going with that. I just wanted it confirmed, though. But I was expecting an epic final battle
exactly,
where that was concerned. But then I just thought, oh fuck it, well, we're fighting Metal Gear then.
Yeah.
And
which is fine. I like a Metal Gear, but it just seemed like they just didn't bother completing Volgin's or the Man on Fire. Like he just died, and I was like,
yeah. Oh, but
really?
when you go to collect his remains as well, that was just a bit. I don't know how I felt about that.
Didn't need to be in there. I don't know whether. Obviously, there was a back and forth. This will be a theme throughout this discussion, I think. Kojima and Konami had a big falling out. I'm starting to wonder, and coming on to some of the things that we'll discuss in a moment, whether they said, look, get the game out this year, we need it out, and he was like, I need more time, I need more money, And there were bits like Volgin and like this, Mission 51, which I'll go through with you in a moment, that just didn't get fleshed out because they had a time limit to hit. They had to hit this deadline, and you think they might have just cut the nose off it and thought, well, we just got to get it out there as it is.
Yeah,
it feels like there were bits incomplete.
Yeah. I do think as well. I mean, going back to the dialogue as well for Snake. I think that came down to budget as well because they didn't want to fucking pay Kiefer Sutherland. It's probably line by line fee for his time, So,
yeah, that probably didn't help at all. I bet the Japanese guy, when he got the script full, thought, this is a bit light.
Yeah.
What's this happening? I'm used to talking bollocks all the time. Unbelievable. I really did. I'll tell you what one of the highlight characters was. I did like Skullface, but again, when he was on screen, he had a presence about him. The voice actor was brilliant.
Yeah.
But he was not on screen enough for me. And again, it kind of anticlimaxed after we put him down. We never really. It's very vague about how he connects into Metal Gear Solid 3, saying he helped with the mission and went in to clean up after Big Boss's mess and whatnot. It's very, very vague, but I don't know. For such a good character who they built up to be this nasty bastard, you don't really see a lot of him.
No.
And you don't get to fight him.
No, it was really cut short, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was a kind of you got to the point where it was like, what are his true intentions? I mean, obviously you can build that from putting everything together. I didn't have the time or the patience for that.
Well, they call him the third child, but it's clearly Psycho Mantis.
It is, yeah. It's got to be, isn't it?
It's got to be.
Yeah.
Again, that was all a bit. I didn't really understand the inclusion of that, really. Again, it seemed like they wanted to connect or have some sort of connection to the later game, obviously Metal Gear Solid in the timeline. And for some reason, they sort of, a bit of fan service, we'll chuck in a young Mantis whilst we're there.
Yeah. I kind of wanted there to be an introduction of some of the characters that we see in Metal Gear Solid tactical espionage action.
Yeah,
I was hoping that would happen, but it was so underhand. It was just like half-assed, really. I don't know. It just was. I feel like I'm slating it, and I don't want to because I love the franchise so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not overall. I'm not disappointed with the game. But
no.
I just feel. I mean, it's all sounding very negative at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll definitely change gears in a minute, but I think it's worth just addressing. I think if we didn't like the game so much, we wouldn't bother talking about it. So there's clearly love for this game on its own. It's just that there were a few niggles, I guess, that we have with it. Ocelot didn't see himself. He was just, all he did really is just give you instructions for the missions.
He
didn't seem very charismatic. He was just like, boss, don't do that. That was his input, and Kaz was like, no, do it. I like Kaz. He was good and intense, but Ocelot just didn't seem like he was bothered.
Kaz is a fucking nutcase, isn't he?
He's a fucking renegade.
But yeah, no, I did. I mean, you start to see the evolution of Ocelot a bit, don't you? You can kind of see where it's got. I mean, towards the end, where they start to say about, at the end of the day, when he's talking to Kaz and he says, we're going to end up on opposite sides of the fence here. I did quite like that because you obviously know where the story goes if you follow the franchise. But I wanted to see a bit more of that going on visually. Yeah. That was where it was lacking for me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Before we move off to the kind of vacuum story, there is. I don't know if you've seen the video, but there's rumours going around that there's data miners have found there was a third chapter called Chapter 3, called Peace, which was perhaps originally going to be in the game. And also, I don't know if you've seen the collector's edition DVD that comes with it, or it might be a Blu-ray, I'm not sure, but it has like Mission 51 on there.
Which, haven't seen it yet.
If you've not seen it, so essentially, you know how Eli pisses off with the Metal Gear, and we never see that again. I mean, that's another major. Just I was expecting to go back and fight that, and that never happened. That is clearly, for me, a suggestion that they just did not have time to finish where they were going. But basically, it's that mission of going back and actually fighting the Metal Gear with Eli and Mantis. So it's worth watching if you haven't. Definitely go out, and it will give you an idea. It's actually a bit annoying because you think this would have been really cool if it was in the game, because it's in a new environment as well.
Oh shit!
So you would have had those as well. I don't know if they thought, well, maybe we'll plan this as DLC, but there's no story DLC for coming for this now that Kojima's gone. I can't see anyone picking it up and finishing it. The stuff they show doesn't look finished. And so there was. They call it Mission 51. They obviously put it on the disc for a reason.
Yeah.
They obviously wanted people to see there, but it also ties into the fact that I feel like the money or the time clearly run out during Chapter 2, which is why we had a lot of those rehash missions and padding, which I found quite frustrating. Although I've been told you don't have to do these rehash missions, so like the total stealth missions, they were and whatnot, they felt like it was in the way for me. That sort of stuff, I think, great end game stuff. Like if you have 6 of those, the hardest missions, have that at the end when you've wrapped up the story, but don't put it in between.
Yeah, as a means of getting to the sort of finale, as it were.
Yeah,
that pissed me off.
They were fucking hard as well.
Yeah, they really were. I still haven't managed to do all of them, if I'm honest. I mean, I finished the story itself. I've got 2 of, I think there's 4 endings. I think I've got 2 of 4, and then I just lost patience in the end.
It's got to get it done.
Yeah.
I think overall, I mean, like I said, in a vacuum, it's fine. There was just how it was presented. There were just some some problems in that they clearly run out of time at some point. And like the Chapter 2 definitely seems rushed or not finished. Obviously, Eli pisses off with the Metal Gear. That's it. We're led to believe that's it. He just gets away with it. And goes away.
I mean, there's such a build up to it. I mean, Chapter 1. They obviously wanted you to think Chapter 1 and then it's over. That's game over. Yeah. And I was sitting there looking at the credits, thinking, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what have you done?
I was livid. I was sitting. I was like, all those bloody cutscenes they showed in the trailers, none of it's here.
Yeah.
We're missing stuff. I was like, oh my goodness, what have they done here?
And then you get to Chapter 2, and I thought, brilliant. It's a whole. I'm only halfway. But you're not really. You're almost like 2/3 of the way, or 3/4 of the way in, aren't you? And then it's so short in Chapter 2, and it like you say, it felt rushed, and it felt a bit half done. It felt like they were really like making good headway with it, and then all of a sudden it just drops off at one point, and fuck knows what happened. But
we'll never know, will we?
No.
It's quite clear to me the way the game suddenly changes. In the second, I think there was going to be 3 chapters. I think in classic Kojima style, he was probably looking for a classic like film 3 acts.
Yeah,
and I think he was looking for that, and they obviously done 1, got that completed. I had no problem with the way that ended. Got probably midway through 2, and then something come hammering down and said, "Look, that's got to be done now." And the plans were then had to change. They probably did what they can. I mean, I would have been happy with Chapter 1 being finished and then the other parts being side ops or something like that. Those yellow important side ops, something like that would have done me fine. But I think overall, I just missed the big kind of emotional, hard hitting cutscenes that this series has become famous for. And I know they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I was always a fan of those. And let's talk quickly about the ending, because it's a massive twist. Now, I think, I'm not sure if I did message you early on with my thoughts that we're not playing as Big Boss. Now, I know I sent it definitely to Tom Adkins, who was asking him. This is after the first mission, because we had Ishmael and all that, and it's all a little bit weird, that first mission. So I was actually geared up. I was like, right, I think we're not playing as Big Boss somehow here. It's something else. So I should have seen this coming, but I didn't. They actually, I think Kojima done exactly what he wanted what he wanted to happen. Like he tricked me.
Yeah.
He done me over, because he tricked me back into thinking that it was Big Boss,
Yes.
With the way it was all set up. And there were even key indicators, like when they talk about Eli not being the son of your big boss, Phantom Big Boss, that straight away, in my head, if I was still under that under the thought of it not being Big Boss, I should have gone, that's it, that's confirmation there.
Yeah.
But I just kind of went, oh, and just carried on.
I wonder why that could be. I'm sure it would be revealed.
Yeah.
I thought, maybe they've done something to the genome soldier, well, the terrible children, to make it so that they cannot be identified as the offspring of Big Boss.
Yeah.
I thought, there's got to be so. I was overthinking it, and then at the end of it, and I just thought, oh well, I sort of thought that anyway, and fucking it did. I mean, it shocked me. It was good. It was a real fucking clanger, but I don't know. What did you think? What did you make of it?
At first, I was pissed off. I was livid. I was like, I've just spent 70 hours playing as some random medic who I'd named Jimmy Johnson. So when he turned over the card, it was like, good luck, Jimmy Johnson. I was like, wow, what's going on there? So I was livid to start with. And it wasn't until the final credits roll, it goes for that timeline.
Yes.
And then it drops another little bomb saying the events of Metal Gear 1, so that's the original first ever game.
Yeah.
That's actually Phantom Big Boss that gets killed by Solid Snake.
Yes.
And then he comes, and obviously the real Big Boss is in the second Metal Gear, and that suddenly, it kind of dug him out of a hole, I think, because they'd never explained how that was possible that he'd come back, but it's two separate people.
Yeah, because obviously you've got the body that they burn or whatever in MGS 4 as well.
That's it, yeah.
Presumably, which is the Phantom.
Yeah.
The Phantom, or the remains of the Phantom Boss. But I don't know. There's still a few gaps, and I think I've got the official guide, and I've read in that, which I was very cautious about. I didn't open it until I got to the very end of the game, and I started doing all the other side ops and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of information in that, and it says that when it gives you the timeline at the end of this guide. Just very fucking detailed, and it says basically just take the information from the first Metal Gear with a bit of a pinch of salt,
right?
Because some of the dialogue and everything else, there's going to be plot holes, but Kojima sort of held his hands up and said, it's not all going to tie in, but for the most part, this is what's happened, and this this game is designed to tie up all those loose ends, etc. So. I mean, there was a lot revealed, and a lot of it did make sense, because when we started talking about this, you and I, there was a lot of things that we were questioning, like the fucking horn and shit like that, and why didn't he have it at the end of MGS 4? The arm, and there was a lot that didn't really add up, like all the scars and shit like that.
We were just going, nano machines, they sort everything.
That's it, yeah. So, I mean, it served its purpose, didn't it? But, I was very pissed off, because you sort of get an attachment, and you think, I'm playing as Big Boss, I'm playing as Snake, for me, I mean, when I originally played MGS 3, I kind of felt a little bit detached from it, because I was so used to playing as Solid Snake. And I everybody loved that character, and everyone was a little bit pissed off when you had to play as Raiden in MGS2, and then they just went, obviously it was a prequel, they had to do it for MGS3, and you play as you play as Naked Snake, don't you? And I guess they just continued on with that pattern of sort of detaching the players from being this one individual or this one legendary hero, and it's like. It's almost like they're saying, Kojima's saying, no, you are ultimately the hero. You are the person that's been doing this. You've been achieving this on your own. And, whoever it is that you're playing as, you're the one who's been capable of doing these things. And I don't know, some bullshit sense of empowerment, I guess, isn't it? I don't know.
I don't see Jimmy Johnson as being able to do that, though. That's the thing.
No.
Jimmy doesn't seem like the sort of guy who'd be that good.
No.
Yeah, it's certainly something different, and it's going to divide opinions. Well, it's there now. No one can do anything about it.
No.
As I've thought about it more, I've come round to it more, because although you're not playing as the original Big Boss, we obviously know that Phantom Big Boss goes off and has his own legacy, So you are, and that legacy is seen as Big Boss. So Big Boss, in a sense, is towards Metal Gear 1. There's two people. So you are playing as a version of him, I guess.
Yeah,
You're just not the original guy. I don't know how he got the same voice as Big Boss. I don't know how that's happened.
No,
that was never quite explained. I can understand the face, fine. I mean, again, 1984. I don't think they got that sort of tech, but
nah. There's a lot of tech that they wouldn't have had in 1984.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's absolutely, completely bonkers, some bits, but yeah. I mean, I've come around to sort of liking it. I like the fact that it cleans up the MGS or MG1 and 2, that little sort of inconsistency about how he come back, but there's always that sense that it kind of means nothing.
Yeah.
In a way, because it wasn't Big Boss. But again, this it doesn't surprise me because it's Kojima at the end of the day.
Yeah, he's always a bit risque, isn't he? Yeah, I did feel a little bit fucked over with it though.
You still sore from it?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I think. I mean, you were at least a week ahead of me, so you kind of had a bit more time to grieve and make your peace with it.
I think what it was, I went on stag do the weekend, a day after, and then I was just drinking the bar, and I was thinking about it, annoyed, and then I was like a moment of clarity, and I accepted it for what it was.
Yeah.
So I think you need to do that. Just go and get drunk and have a little think about it in a lonely kind of cellar.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll come to you, and you'll accept.
Yeah, well, I've got a bottle downstairs. I think after this, I'll go and start the grieving process and just get through it. It's time to move on.
Yeah, no. One thing I will say is that I mean, I'm massively making assumptions here, but I kind of get the feeling that obviously Real Big Boss has manipulated all this, so he's orchestrated this along with Ocelot and whatnot. So he's put the Phantom Big Boss out so he can go away and do what he wants to do. And I almost feel like that's kind of him learning from what happened to him in Metal Gear Solid 3 with Boss, where he was manipulated into, carrying out the assassination on his mentor, and it turned out Boss was obviously doing this for, the American government.
Yeah.
So in a way, I feel like it's almost Boss, or Big Boss, suddenly kind of then using that experience for his own advantage and then doing it himself.
Yeah,
and carrying it out and duping everyone.
Yeah, it makes sense that he would follow that through with Ocelot as well.
Yeah,
as we discussed, or what I've actually had it confirmed now that Ocelot is meant to be Boss's son.
Yeah.
So
was that in the guide? Did you say
that was in the guide as well?
That's the sort of stuff that just I'm surprised it's not somewhere more accessible.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't made clear, was it?
No,
from the game.
Buried in like an official strategy guide.
Yeah,
I kind of think it's not the place to put that.
No, not everyone's going to have access to it. But
no,
I think I still haven't come across anything, or maybe I missed it in any of the games where it actually directly says she was my mother or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows?
One last thing. No David. No Solid Snake.
Fucking livid, mate.
We've got liquid. We've got liquid in there.
Oh, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. No Eva.
No Eva.
No Eva.
No Frank Jaeger.
No
Colonel.
So pissed off.
There's a lot of people that got missed from this, and then there's people like Volgin who didn't need to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets to look in, but no one else.
Yeah.
There's just
no Grey
need
Fox.
For it.
No Frank. I was shocked to not see that. It's only when I finished it I thought, hang on. Where are these people gone?
Yeah, they've missed something. DLC perhaps? Who knows? I don't know. It's just they don't really talk about David or anything like that, do they?
No.
They don't really. And Solidus as well. There's just fuck's sake.
Let's come off the still. I mean, I think it's a kind of love-hate. There's great parts in it. There are certainly some great parts. I mean, the moment when you have to go shooting all your comrades down because they've been infected with the parasite, I think that was a fantastic mission itself.
I loved that. Enjoyed it.
And I just wish there was more of that narrative-driven stuff in there, because it starts off with the ending, well, not the ending, the start when you obviously leave the hospital.
Yeah.
And that was very narrative-focused. Those two are my favourites, and I wish they'd had just a few more of them, just a handful more of those kind of hands-on, purely narrative-focused missions in there, just to drive things forward. Let's talk about the gameplay, because I don't think we have a bad word to say about how the actual game plays. I thought it was superb.
There's
so many things you can do, and story aside, people have always had. Some people hated the story anyway, so they wouldn't have been interested. But for those that turn up for the gameplay, they've been in for an absolute treat, haven't they?
Yeah, 100%. It's the new engine. I say new engine. It's fairly old now, isn't it? They fucking made it years ago, but it just works so well, and it really delivers on everything that they set out to do. You know.
Yeah.
I loved it. I don't have a bad thing to say about it at all in terms of the gameplay and the game mechanics themselves, and the AI is just phenomenal.
Yeah, when you get spotted and you set up an alert status, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I mean, the most memorable part for me in those sort of zones was I had a couple actually. One where I got cornered into a room and I saw them all stacking up outside, which I know they've done before. Chucked a grenade in there and they killed me, put me down. I was like, I just couldn't get out of there. They were actually, once you set them off, they were hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But one of the best ones, when I was infiltrating at night, I got set off an alert. I thought, right, I'll get out of the way, sprinted away from the base, hid behind a rock, and they fired a big flare up in the air to light up that area and then sent a search party out. And I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That really... It's fantastic, the AI on this. Okay, they're a little bit blind, but they've got better eyes than they used to have.
Yeah.
Soliton 5-yard radar. In daytime, they're like eagles. They can see you.
Yeah, from a long way off. I mean, especially if they're at a vantage point. I mean, the snipers were a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, they were.
But the way that the system or the AI adapts to your style of gameplay as well. Like if you're someone who prefers headshots, then you know, as you progress through the game, more and more of them turn up wearing helmets.
That's it.
If you're going at night, a lot more of them will have night vision goggles and shit like that.
If you use gas and sleeping gas, they start putting gas masks on. So you have to adapt yourself as the player.
Yeah. You've got to find your own strategy. You can't just go one size fits all and just fucking charge in and do the same thing throughout the game. You've got to change your approach and use different items to your advantage. And it was so good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it is fantastic. What did you make of kind of like the progression of weapon unlocks and things? Obviously, you work your way towards new tech and whatnot, and you might be familiar with that with Peace Walker, but there was a lot of stuff you could unlock on this, and there was tons of stuff to work towards for your buddies and all sorts.
Yeah, for me it worked. It was good, but I think it could have gone on a bit quicker.
Did I need to wait 45 minutes for my upgrade?
Yeah.
In-game minutes, that's when I kind of thought it's a very weird thing to do, because it feels like, you know, when you play those mobile games where you can only have like 4 bits of energy for the day, and you have to wait for a certain amount of time for it to reach. It was almost like that. It felt like it was ripped out of a free-to-play mobile game. Waiting for new weapons and whatnot. I like that. What this game opened up to me is that the amount of experimenting you could do as a player, just to see what would happen. Like, I don't know if you ever played around with the water pistol ever.
I didn't. No, I had every intention of doing it. I think, but by the time I got through the missions and the story started progressing, I fucked it off and just carried on with the sniper rifles and bits and pieces. But that would have come in handy on some of the missions, especially the Man on Fire mission.
You can use it against him, and also you can use it to destroy electronic equipment. So
that's
where you normally shut the generator down, you could spray that on there. Just little things like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it being open world, you had a lot more options on how to do every single task and just getting around.
Yeah.
You could jump on the back of a van. You could spin a car out using horse shit.
Yeah.
You could do all sorts, faulting it out. There was so many options there. Buddy system.
Yeah.
I think we both liked Quiet, didn't we?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, I thought she was going to be Toilet.
She made having her on some of the later missions, especially if you're going to a particular base.
Yeah.
Just send her off. Send her off and just go fucking mental.
Yeah.
Knock them all out, and then I just go along my merry way, fault them all off, and so I mean that worked really well for me.
Yeah. She was a bit overpowered in some phase, but I used to, for the total stealth missions, I got in the habit of using her as a distraction.
Yeah.
So I'd have her fire, and then I could pretty much walk around. She'd wipe a few out as well. They were air whips by then, so it was a bit harder. But she would cause a diversion for me, and I'd sneak in and then do what I need to do and get out of there without being seen. So it was handy. D-Horse, I mean, very handy to start with, but once you get D-Walker, he becomes of no use, I find.
Yeah.
He's just a mechanic for getting around, really, isn't he?
That's it. I mean, for me, the D-Horse was very useful on the missions where you've got to destroy the vehicles.
Yes.
Because you're going back and forth, and
and
you can fire from while you're still moving, that sort of thing. I know you can do that with D-Walker, but I found the horse still quite useful for those missions. But you don't really come across those that often. So
no. What did you think of D-Dog?
D-Dog was a little bit lacking. I did expect a bit more from him. I mean, when you've built up the bond enough with him and you've unlocked some of the extra suits and stuff like that, you've got the Fulton suit, and that comes in very handy. I've seen a lot of people using that. But it didn't really lend much. I just thought Quiet was a lot more useful, really.
Yeah.
I just thought, well, if I'm using him to sort of scout out the area and this, that, and the other, I think, I can do that with Quiet, and she can just take him out automatically. I don't have to keep telling her to do it. It just say cover me, and she just goes fucking mental.
Yeah.
Whereas D-Dog's kind of always just like an annoying, like, little brother or sister that just hangs about and just fucking follows you everywhere.
So it was open world. I'll be honest here. There's two. You've got Africa and Afghanistan. The two maps. I didn't like Afghanistan.
You didn't?
No. Too rocky. Snake, Phantom Big Boss, Punish Snake, was struggling to climb up things that I felt he should have done.
Yeah.
Like, he could only climb up cracks.
Yeah.
And I just thought, there's one part why didn't they introduce some sort of climbing gear to climb up cliffs and stuff? Because that would have added another element to it, instead of having just these certain areas where you could just climb up cracks.
Yeah.
That was winding me up.
And there were very few and far between.
You hardly see him as well. I mean, they started marking him as your intel level went up. But the main problem I had with Afghanistan was that it felt like it was just a series of roads. Like, you couldn't freely roam from one side of the map to the other, whereas Africa was a lot more open.
Yeah.
You had to go through the roads and go through all the shitty outposts, and it just seemed like getting from north to south was an arse ache because the road didn't go that way, and there was no shortcut through.
Yeah, you couldn't get around the cliff. You couldn't fucking. The amount of times I spent, I'd gone in one direction for like a mile, and then I thought I've definitely gone the wrong way here, and you have to go all the way fucking back just to get around a fucking hill, a rock face.
Yeah.
That you should have been able to climb up, like you say, like a grapple hook or something for the arm would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
that would have worked really well, but
that would have been incredible. No, I didn't get that. I just preferred Africa. I found it a lot more open. It's easy to get around, and that definitely was good. And the only thing I would have liked as well is, because Afghanistan was such a pig to navigate, he's been able to call the chopper in, jump in it, and then from there select a new landing zone without having to go out to the bloody command centre and then redeploy and spend another 50 fucking GMP.
Yeah, because you can do it on the base. Mother base. I don't understand why you couldn't do it in the open world.
I'll tell you what, on that mother base, he takes the scenic route to those drop-off points. I was timing it once. It took him 2.5 minutes to go from one strut to the other.
Yeah.
What was he doing? I could have just driven there quicker.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was glad when I got it shot down in one of the missions. Like, well, maybe the next pilot will be better. He was a bit of a pig. Let's move on to the mother base, because that's a separate kind of management game in itself, like a meta game.
Yeah.
What did you make of all this? Did you spend much time building up your squad and then doing combat deployment missions and building up your staff and putting everyone where they need to be? Or was it kind of, I'll just fault on everyone and let the game sort out where people go and whatnot?
Yeah, I let the game do what it felt was best, really. I don't know if that was the best way of doing it or not, but
when you get 400 odd people, you can't manage them.
No.
Like, you're never going to, it's just too much.
No, I mean, it auto assigns them anyway to the best area based on their skill set, but I mean, I think it only gets worth having a look around when you get to the later parts of the game where you've actually built enough struts and you've upgraded the areas a lot more, you can explore a lot more, and there's a bit more to do. I mean, the only thing you've got in the earlier stages is the target practice, which was just a fucking headache, really. I haven't even done them yet.
That's stressful. Wouldn't bother.
I tried to do it one time, and I thought, target practice. I thought, that's good, because I can try out all the weapons that I haven't used in the missions yet.
Nope.
You know, where you just don't want to commit to using one particular weapon in a mission, and you think, I don't want to try and use this, then get into the fucking mission itself, realise it's useless, and then have to spend GMP on shipping in another fucking weapon. So I thought, well, target practice be blinding. Surely they're going to let you go through all the weapons and everything else, because you could do that in Peace Walker. And then it was a case of, right, so where are the fucking targets now? I know you did them, but you've done them all, haven't you?
I did them all, and the one in particular, I think it's on the R&D strut, where it's like a obstacle course. It must have taken me a good hour and a half. Just one of those things I need to have done, though.
I just thought, I don't really need this. Like, there is stuff I could be doing in my actual life that, you know, but I want to be playing this game, but do I want to be doing this? Have I just lost all sense of worth? It's just it just went too far for me. But
did you ever go at the old forward operations base online part of it?
I did the little training sessions that they asked you to do, which really interrupted my fucking game, and I was pissed off about that. I didn't want to do it, but I think I said to you before, I didn't want to get into a back and forth with someone where I don't know if it allows you to do that, where you sort of...
You can retaliate, certainly.
Well, this is the thing. I didn't want to get it into a back and forth where I'm going into someone else's base just to try it out, you know, and then they go, hold on, who's Menzimon, who's this twat, and then go and nick all my shit that I've been spending time fucking building up. Do you know what I mean?
The thing is, they can just come in, they can nick your shit, obviously, or they could just go there and kill all your soldiers that you've deployed on there.
That's
and they're gone. Those guys are gone.
I've spent a lot of time doing that, and I didn't want to do it, because you could end up biting off more than you can chew, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Because I've seen the videos online, because I thought, well, I'll have a look online on YouTube, see what it's all about and that. And I mean, some of the levels that people were at with the weapons that they had, the gear that they took with them and stuff like that, and it was fucking mental. And I thought, this is really going into the big leagues here. These people are taking it really seriously. They're definitely unemployed, and they've got too much time on their hands. They built up so quickly, because it hasn't been open for that long. But I don't know. I
didn't like the fact that it was just forced upon you, and that you pretty much had to do it. And even if you played offline, people could still invade you whilst offline. I would have wanted a choice with this fob, or whatever you want to call it. I didn't actually get invaded once.
No, I haven't been as of yet. I probably have now. I haven't played it in about a week. Probably goes back to it. It's all fucking ransacked.
Yeah, fucking Ocelot's dead.
Yeah, but
Miller's lost both his arms.
But I've not tried it. I probably won't try it. I mean, the main idea is that you go there to steal people's nukes and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can dismantle them, or you can keep them, and that then I don't think people can retaliate to you if you've got a nuke, because it's like a deterrent. Yeah,
but I mean, there's obviously people out there who enjoy it, and it lends something to the game that, you know, for that
audience
demographic, as you would say, I guess. But I don't really. It doesn't really give anything for me as an MGS vet, as I consider myself.
I agree on that. I mean, Mother Base itself was a bit sterile in some places. I wish there was more side missions like what we have with Puz. Did you finish that off, that particular?
No. I spent an evening trying to do the Wandering Soldiers and that, and it was pissing me off going back up, because you can't go and do all the soldier missions and then just give her all the photos in one go. You had to keep going
fucking
back
lay down,
and then it was really fucking slow when you got there. You couldn't really move about, and I fucking hate that I don't like being restricted. Do you know what I mean? If I want to point a gun at her, I'm going to point a gun at her. But I couldn't do that. And she was really slow and just dippy.
Yeah.
And I deal with enough people like that in my everyday life. I don't need it. I don't need it coming into the game. She just wound me up, and it irritated me that she was alive more than anything, because Miller was fucked off with her anyway. But he seems to have, he's coming back. He's like, lost an arm, lost a leg, water under the bridge,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just thought, really.
I would say, if you can't be asked, don't. But certainly see the end of that particular side quest, because it is kind of like a mini story itself.
Yeah,
you might ease some of your dislike towards that particular bit, finding out exactly what's happened there. But I'd say definitely find out what goes on, because it's quite good in itself. I wanted to touch upon the bosses quickly. Now, I bloody loved the Quiet boss, and what I loved about that is I just stumbled across it. I was just exploring the open world, and Quiet starts firing a bloody sniper rifle at me. And it had that epic kind of sniper wolf and the end feel to it. I'm sure it went to like 2 in-game days. Like the sun rose and set a couple of times before I managed to get rid of the slag. It was I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
And obviously fighting the Metal Gear at the end of Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, I wasn't overly impressed.
There wasn't a lot going on, was there?
No, it's skulls.
Yeah, they were fucking useless. They were absolutely useless. I mean, I know you can go back and you can play it again and falter them off.
Yeah.
And you can use the parasites for the parasite suit, can't you? Which I haven't actually used.
No. It restricts your grade to an A, so I was like, well, do I want to be using that? I've got my S's to get.
Yeah, like they're coming left, right, and centre for me anyway. But that was the only bit that was missing, because I mean, MGS 4, they kept the same format with the whole boss battles, and that was the last time that we see it, isn't it? Really, it just sort of dies a death there. But I loved that about the Metal Gear games, because it was just so typical. It was just old school to have these boss battles, these things that you're building up to, and you know that once you've done them, you know that, right, I've done that, I've got a sense of achievement, I've done that, I can turn the game off for the day. But here it was almost like, where's my jumping off point? When can I go to bed? I don't know, you always felt a little bit unfinished with things, didn't you? But
it was a bit of a shame. I mean, there wasn't as many as I was expecting. They weren't as varied as I expected. So there were 2 standouts in there, but apart from that, the skulls I wasn't really interested in those. And they had the female skulls. I was like, well, what are these? What are they doing?
Yeah, they didn't
get looking after that, did they?
No, they were just they were there. I didn't even try and defeat them in the end. I mean, I had Quiet on that mission. She got fucked off.
Yeah, she gets mullered, didn't she?
Yeah. She got absolutely battered, the poor cow. And then I just legged it towards the mansion, and then they were like, "Oh, I think they've gone now." I thought, that was fucking easy, wasn't it?
Thanks very much.
The armored is it the armored ones? The ones that you get in the mission where you've got to retrieve the vehicle, and they all jump out the back.
Run off! Ain't dealing with them.
Yeah,
got on D-Walker and got out of there. I was like, Jesus, get me away from these bastards.
Leg it.
Yeah.
They that ended that. But it's not really much going on. Didn't really enjoy them. I was hoping for a bit more. I don't know. I was hoping to get to the third child or something like that, and have like an epic boss battle with him on his own, and maybe some other characters that we've seen from other areas of the franchise coming back, or like I said before, I was expecting a full-on showdown with the Man on Fire, but that just
tip water on him.
Then
get out of there. Do you know what I did in that first mission? The first time I tried that, I tried to drive out, and then the cave fell down. I was like, I can't go out that way.
Yeah.
I kept going, oh, he doesn't like water. And I was like, I'll tell you what, he won't be able to follow me if I do this. I drove off the cliff at the end, thinking I'll go in the lake.
Yeah.
I was like, this is genius. You're so clever, Kojima. And it just blew up and killed me in D-Dog. And I was like, right. That obviously wasn't the way to do it.
I thought I know what I'll do. I'll stand in that little pool of water.
Yeah.
I thought you won't be able to get me here. I thought I was really clever, just standing in the middle, fucking trounced me straight away, the cunt. And then in the end, I just used grenades and explosives and shit to ping him into that, and he just sort of fizzled out, didn't he?
Did you try and fault on him?
I didn't know.
I did try, but I think he was indoors and it failed. But I'm pretty sure you can't. Otherwise, he wouldn't appear later on in the game. That'd be the end of it. I mean, we've been talking for about 50 minutes now, and we've tried to be positive, but there's a lot of negatives and gripes that we've come up with. And a lot of it, in listening and talking myself, I think it's because this is a complete change of direction almost for the series. We've not had anything that feels quite like this to this scale, and I think that's what it is. I think it's a lack of familiarity with it. I mean, we've both said we've loved the game, put in countless hours into it. We've played it so much. It's one of the few games I've not traded in, so I want to go for it again and do the missions again just for the gameplay side of things, and do things and just try and do like a pure stealth run or things like that. And I mean, there are some shortcomings of it, and I think we've ragged on it quite a lot. I'm being a bit harsh on this, but
a little bit.
It's because we're big fans of the franchise, and again, it's because I think it is because we genuinely did enjoy the game. We just wanted it to be perfect, and our expectation, I think, is what has held it back for us. I mean, what disappointed me the most about what happened in Metal Gear Solid is that we understand what happens in Metal Gear 1 and 2 now, thanks to this Phantom big boss. Fine. But what really hurt me was that it says in the final launch trailer, the missing link that completes the saga. So, and there's also like men become demons in Outer Heaven. And we do not see Phantom big boss get to that stage.
No.
And that is what I was expecting. That was what I was expecting the climax to be, is that you get to the end and you're at this stage where Big Boss is, or whoever it is, Phantom Big Boss or whoever, is becoming seen as a villain. But it just never quite happens.
No, I mean, you can work towards either Hero Snake or Demon Snake, can't you? And depending on where you're at and the actions that you take. I mean, if you go for Demon Snake, obviously the horn gets bigger.
Yes.
Which I always try to do the hero side of things anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I don't know if that potentially unlocks something. Maybe I'm missing something.
I don't think it does. I've been researching the shit out of it, trying to find some sort of this link.
Like you say, I thought we were going to go right up to where MGS 1 or Metal Gear 1 begins. That's
Operation Intrude, and you see the tape go on, but it kind of feels like I skipped forward a few years anyway, the very end, and you don't get that gap where he's starting to deploy that mission. You think, what's happened between when I just finished playing with him and now? He's lost the plot.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really, really fucking odd. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a DLC. Maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a plan. Maybe Kojima did it to leave something open for him to do for the future. Who knows? I mean, there's been talk of like Konami continuing the series without him, but maybe Kojima thinks, I'm going to cut this short. Where with Konami being involved, and I'm going to go off and I'm going to do it on my own, and I'm going to finish it properly on my own. But maybe he just wanted the financial backing to do so. So maybe the sales of this, or how successful it is, maybe that's going to generate enough for him to do something on his own. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it is strange. I mean, I think it's been a victim. For me personally, when we done the preview, you could hear some of the ridiculous things I was coming up with what might happen. I mean, I created my own fantasy before the game was out. Yeah. And I chose to live in the fantasy where these things would happen. I think that's partly due to the way it was marketed. I think the trailers are misleading. Yes. You don't get that final resolution. But I'm not sure if it's fair for me to be completely disappointed because my brain decided to create all these amazing scenarios and they didn't materialise. That's not how you should judge it, really. I felt I was kind of led down the path a little bit, but then I run off and went mental with it.
I agree. I think we both did, to be honest, mate. Yeah. I think we just had a lot of expectation, as you say, and it's not that I'm necessarily disappointed with the game.
No, not at all. It's
because
fantastic.
I recommend it to anyone.
Yes.
I've made a guy at work buy it because I said, like, you this is missing from your life. Go and buy this fucking game, and he's gone and bought it.
Yeah.
But there's just something that was missing, and there was something that wasn't Metal Gear for me. It felt almost like I was playing a new franchise by Kojima.
Yeah, I get what you mean there. I mean, Biff went out and bought it. There's people that have never really enjoyed the games before that can enjoy this game.
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to it, because before, it always felt if you weren't a fan of the series, then you probably won't enjoy Metal Gear Solid. It's a little bit of an acquired taste for some people, but this was certainly blew that wide open. I would recommend it to any fan of an action or stealth genre or any gamer at all, just to give it a try, because as much as we've ragged on it, we're coming from a perspective where we're invested in the universe and what happens in the lore and what we've got expectations, whereas if you haven't got those expectations or you've been put off by previous ones, this one I'm confident would turn you around. 9 times out of 10 I think people are going to enjoy this game. It truly is, it's a great game in its own right, and I think it just has the Metal Gear attachment on it, which for us means it's got to meet insanely high standards, which is near impossible. So it's a bit of a tricky one. I want to leave it. Go on.
Sad way to live your life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but that's all.
It's just like you say, it's been very negative, but overall, I still think it's a phenomenal game, and I love it. I would definitely replay it.
Yeah, I'm keeping it. It's one of the few games that's made the cut to be kept. I am prolific at trading games in once I finish, but I'm keeping this because I just enjoyed playing it so much. There are bits that aren't perfect, but there's so many parts of this game. You will find one thing that you like. I know people that just addicted to Mother Base want to build Mother Base up, and that's a game in itself, collecting resources, building all the struts. That's their aim. And you can go out and do that, or you can go out and do the story, or you can do the side ops, you can clear all those down, or you can do the stealth missions and whatnot. The only thing I would say would have been handy was having a few locations that are actual full-on bases that you infiltrate for the story. So have like a Camp Omega that you go to.
Yeah.
Like you helicopter to a location, and that has then the narrative drive from the opening mission and also the Mother Base mission where you shoot your enemies. Those sort of things.
Yeah.
A bit more, but it didn't happen. In its own right, though, I cannot fault the game too much because our expectations were higher. I want to leave it on this one question. Kojima's pretty much gone.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all but confirmed, although Konami is saying he hasn't gone, even though there's been pictures of his leaving do. So I don't know what they're doing. Do you want another Metal Gear game without Kojima?
No.
That's it.
No, there's just no point, in my opinion.
Despite the gaps and the questions it might have unearthed now, you're happy just to go, right, kill it.
Yeah, once I've got over it, I'll be all right. Like once I've got over my sort of shock and my ever so slight disappointment with how it turned out this time round, I think I can walk away from it and know in my mind that since I've been a kid, this has provided me with an incredible gaming experience, this franchise in itself.
Yeah.
And I've got all of that I can replay if I want to, and look back on, and and I just think I'm happy to leave it there if needs be. That's not to say that if something was made, that I wouldn't play it, because I'm a sucker for it, so I would. But I don't want to see it happen if Kojima's not involved, because I just think what's the point?
All good things do come to an end.
Yeah.
And that looks like that's what's happened with this particular partnership in Kojima and Metal Gear.
That's it.
If they did another game, would you want it to be in this style? Big open world, 80 hours, side ops coming out your arse? Or is it too fatiguing? Because they are. You've got to commit to it if you want. If you want to finish it and you're driven by finishing games, this is a big commitment.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's the way that games are going now.
They all want.
That's the thing.
People don't want to be. They don't want them to trade the games in. I find that there's a lot of open world games out now just for the sake of being open world, so that it'll take them 30, 40 hours to complete, and they can't trade it in those first couple of weeks.
Yeah. And, I do think that's the way things are going. So yeah, who knows? I do. I think I prefer the old format of how Metal Gear worked, because it's just classic gaming. But that's probably down to a nostalgia thing more than anything. If this is the way that things are going now with games in general, I think that's, I like it. I do like it, but I still enjoy that classic style of gaming of following a linear story.
Yeah.
And
I mean, let's look at The Last of Us.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, that is that's proof there that it does still work.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't feel like you've got to lose your entire life to it to try and get through it at the end of the day.
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe draw some of the mechanics from this one and then use it more linearly, or just mix a bit of both. We're probably not going to get another one, so there's no point talking about it. I think we will wrap this particular chat up. Thanks for joining me on this one. You guys at home, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do on Twitter. It's at Dimp Digital. Facebook.com/Dimp Digital is the Facebook page, and dimpdigitalmedia@gmail.com is the email address. Get involved and get in contact there, and do not forget, need not my mic over, to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see our video content there. That's it for now though. Game over. It's goodbye from Alex.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me, Apps. Thanks for your time, and ta-da. Predictions to see how you did. So
yeah. Have you got them?
I've got them here. So let's go through them now. Was Quiet born a boy? In particular, Chico. Now, you'd never heard this theory before.
No.
I presented it to you, and you immediately said, "Yep, I'll have some of that."
Yeah.
Incorrect. Chico ended up just being dead again. Another just character brushed under the carpet. I thought he's definitely going to appear in the kids' army or something. Well, it'd be 9 years on. He'd be adult by now. He'll appear at some point. Nah, just washed up and dead.
Yeah.
Another blunt cut off. But Quiet is in fact a woman, so you didn't need to feel guilty looking at her.
No.
Thinking, am I looking at a bloke? You're not. You are looking at a woman. And all that's done now. It's given, it's opened the door for some interesting cosplay. Which will be good to see in the next few years. Does Snake get laid? Now, you said yes, and it'll be Shalashaska, Ocelot himself. He wasn't interested, was he? He wasn't even interested in talking.
No, he wasn't. I think...
Punished Snake flat out refused, and he didn't even get an offer, did he?
No, I mean, he came close with Quiet. Yeah, they had that little dancing in the rain bit.
My God, what was that all about? It's so weird.
It really just took you out of the game, didn't it, that bit?
So what is going on?
I just thought, just get it over and done with. And I didn't like her being as flirtatious as she was, especially when you're in the
chopper.
In the chopper, yeah. I just thought, I don't need that, but there's someone sitting there with a chubby, just going off on themselves, just fucking loving it.
Do both Liquid and Solid Snake appear? You said yes. We only get Liquid, and that was a banker for me. It was a banker. They were both appearing.
Yeah.
Absolutely shot that down though, didn't they?
Yeah, very upset about that. Very upset. David didn't get a look in. Poor old Dave.
Do we hear David Hayter's voice? You said no. Correct. I don't think it's much of a surprise. I think we was hoping more than anything, wasn't we, there would be some kind of David Hayter action. We didn't get that.
No.
Does Emmerich piss himself?
He did.
Now he did piss himself, but you said he won't. He'll shit himself.
Yeah, I did think he was going to shit himself.
But he does piss himself.
Disappointing.
Does Big Boss go mad? Phantom Big Boss, I guess, in this case. You said no, and I think you're correct on that one. He doesn't really lose the plot, does he?
He doesn't. He's left with a choice at the end of it, isn't he? And it's up to the player to, do you go down the production of nuclear weapons, or do you seek to destroy them?
Yeah, no. He was level-headed throughout. I thought he was going to crack up, but and you tell you what it was that one scene in the trailer where there's like a burning village, and he gets on his knees. I think he shouts. That wasn't even in the game.
No, it wasn't, was it?
No. I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, no idea.
Unbelievable. Longest cutscene. You said 10 minutes. I think I'll give you that. I think.
You didn't fucking time it, did you?
No.
I didn't think you'd be bothered to do it.
Does Ocelot fuck everyone over post credits or do a little speech? You said yes, and he's there talking to Miller, revealing the truth, and Miller's livid.
Yeah. There we go.
He's not happy about it.
No.
And then doesn't Ocelot wipe his own memory?
He did initially, didn't he? Well, he
didn't need to do that.
He could have just pretended. It's just, he was like, no, we've got to make it convincing. We've got to make it convincing, so I'm going to mess around with my brain, my own brain, as well as yours. We're just going to,
He's a fucking madman,
kept it going though, didn't he? Kept it going. Yeah. He's a loose cannon.
Yeah. Well, there we go. In the books.
Yeah.
Done. Kojima shit on his final exit. He's had the snot kicked out of him there.
Yeah, I know, poor bastard. Kick him while he's down.
It's not a bad game.
No, it's alright, isn't it?
Kick the shit out of it, though.
Well, we really did. Slated it. I didn't mean to. I came into this thinking I'm going to talk about how amazing it is, but it turns out I'm just a negative prick.
Tough though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is tough. There's a lot to be said about it, and I think no matter how long we sit here, we're never going to get to the root of it, are we?
No. There's something just not quite there.